Okay, welcome to Blumen und Pflanzen. Just give a little demo about what this does. As you can see, it's a VST instrument, also audio unit, so it loads on Mac and PC, and it loads in any DAW. As you can see, I have it here in Ableton. And let's just jump into explaining the layout first of all. It has two oscillators, one on the left-hand side and one on the right-hand side. They are identical. In the center, we have a control for FM modulation, for kind of global speed, and master volume and play button. The bottom left, we have a distortion effect, and on the bottom right, we have a delay effect. So let's get started to show you a little bit about the first oscillator on the left-hand side. In order to get it started, each oscillator has their own play button. But that play button doesn't actually do anything unless you have the master play button. So you can hear we have a simple attack decay envelope over a repeating sound, which speeds up in relation to the amount of attack and decay there is. This XY pad up and down controls the decay amount. Left and right controls the attack amount. You can control the pitch for each oscillator. And the pitch, of course, has its own pluck effect. So if you turn the pluck amount, you start to get a clicking sound in the beginning. And you can change the decay on the pluck, too, if you want to get it a little longer. You actually get it pretty long. Anyways, so as you can hear, we're listening to a sine tone at the moment. You can change this to a square wave. And the square wave has a pulse width modulation knob as well. There is an FM/PM knob, which isn't doing anything at the moment because there's no modulation happening, but you can switch between frequency modulation and phase modulation. And at its most basic, it's always repeating, and the speed is dependent on the amount of attack and decay there is. So it slows down if there's a long decay. This can actually be changed to take MIDI material. So if you click on this sequence button here, you can see it tells you that it's looking for a MIDI C3. Create a MIDI clip here, get a MIDI C3 going. And now if I press play here, so while this doesn't control the speed, it still controls the amount of the envelope. Okay, anyways. So it's very simple, but where it gets more interesting is when you start to get the modulation happening. I'm going to initialize oscillator number 2. Let's keep this on the same FM. Let's do a sine tone. Let's do a similar pitch to what it is. And let's press play. So at the moment, there's no modulation happening. This central XY pad controls the modulation. Up and down controls the amount of modulation. This modulates oscillator 1. Y changes the opposite, how much this modulates this. So of course, if you're just going straight up or straight to the side, you're not getting any feedback, but anywhere in the center, you start creating this loop where oscillator 1 is sending to oscillator 2, oscillator 2 is sending to oscillator 1. You can change how much of that feedback is happening and whatnot. At the moment, both of these are set to FM modulate. Change that. Both to PM modulation. And of course, we also have a distortion effect. The cutoff, resonant, LFO, speed, and amount, and a delay with an EQ. Another interesting little tool here is the master speed control. And this is interesting because it's a multiplier, so it multiplies the attack and decay of both of these by this fader. So you can slow it down, speed it up, but it also changes the attack decay amount. And that is the Blumen und Pflanzen.